Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome to another video. Today we'll be looking at how to launch a virtual machine on the Azure platform. It's been a long time. We have had video uploaded on the channel. The AZ-900 track along the road now. So first let us get into what is a virtual machine. So as you can see, I'm running a base OS of Ubuntu on my hardware, and if you want to run multiple OS on top of the hardware, you can insert another layer on top of that, which is known as the hypervisor. And for example, software such as VirtualBox, and there are other hypervisor, Microsoft Hyper-V. So they use that hypervisor and they launch multiple OS on top of that hypervisor, and you can launch multiple applications on top of that, right? So same with the Azure platform, we'll be launching a virtual machine on top of a hypervisor, and on top of that we'll be running a web server. So let's get started on this. So anything that you want to first develop on the Azure platform, you have to create a resource group. So first we have to go ahead and create a resource group. There are none as of now. We'll go ahead and create one. I'm currently using the Azure student account, so I have the subscription of the Azure for students. So we'll go ahead and name it as AZ demo, and the region would be US East US. You can go ahead and select the tags, but as of now we'll just create it. And once the validation is passed, the resource group would be created. So once the resource group is created, we can directly go ahead and choose to launch the virtual machines. You can also go ahead and select it from the all resources, or you can directly go to the virtual machine section. So we'll go ahead and add a new virtual machine. So the first and foremost thing we want to discuss is the virtual machine series. Azure has a lot of series based on your use case. For example, some are entry-level economical VMs for dev test, which are like cost convenient and cheap to use, and then the use cases involved here. Also there are bustable VMs, for example development and test servers, low traffic web servers, small databases. BA series is the one to go for. We also have the general purpose compute of D series with use cases mentioned, the DC series to protect data in use, the E series to optimize memory in-memory hyper-threaded applications, and use for SAP HANA, SAP S4 HANA, and so on and so forth. We also have the F series, which are compute optimized, and they provide a lot of RAM, from 2 GB to 16 GB of SSD per CPU core, and are optimized for compute intensive workloads. It can be used for batch processing, for web servers, analytics, and gaming. We also have the G series, which are memory and storage optimized, can be used for large SQL and NoSQL databases. We also have the H series, which is the high performance compute virtual machines, and it can be used for fluid dynamics, seismic processing, and reservoir simulation. You can also see the pricing on the right hand side. So based on the use cases, you can decide, and on the pricing as well, you can decide which instance type or instance series to use. So we'll go ahead with the resource group that we have created and launch a virtual machines, and we'll go ahead and select the name of the virtual machine. So I want to name it as web OS, as we'll be deploying the web server, and then we'll go ahead and select the region. For the availability options, you can select redundant availability options with the availability zones, where it is the resources are launched in the same region but across a different data center, or you can go for availability set, which is the same data center but different tracks. As of now, we don't require any infrastructure redundancy. Now the image, for the image you can go ahead and select any of the images, also view all the images present. We'll go ahead and select Ubuntu. If you require any spot instances, you can select it. Spot instances are instances that are gathered, that are unused instances, can be gathered at a cheap rate. For the size, we would go ahead with the burstable standard B2S, and you can go ahead and select all the sizes from see all sizes and choose according to your use case, and you can select the sizes here. For the username, we'll let it be default. For the SSH public key source, we'll generate a new key pair, or you can use an existing key pair also. So we'll go ahead and generate a new key pair. The key pair name, we'll give it web OS key. For the inbound port rules, we need to allow SSH22 to connect to the instance. Also, we'll be providing the HTTP AT so that we can connect to the web server. On the disk section, we'll go ahead and select the disk. We'll let it be standard HDD with encryption at rest. If you require double encryption or any other type of encryption with custom managed key, then go ahead and select that. So we'll go to the networking part. On the networking, there is a default VNet already created, which is the AZ demo VNet. Also, the subnet is created. We can go ahead and create a new VNets and new subnets if required based on our use case. For the public IP, we need to allocate a public IP because the web server running on the instance, we need to connect to that. So we'll allocate a public IP. And for the NIC NSG, we'll go with basic. If we select none, we'll get a warning saying that all the ports will be exposed to be connected by the public. So we'll go with basic. Now the public inbound ports are already mentioned, the port 80 and port 22 for HTTP and SSH. If you require accelerated networking, the network communication between the instances, we can go for accelerated networking, and it is available for particular instances and virtual machine series. Also, based on the use case, we can go for load balancing to balance the load of the clients coming into our web server. As of now, we don't require it, so we'll go ahead with management. In here, we'll enable the boot diagnostics because we require to see the boot logs. If required, we need to check that for any kind of error. So boot diagnostics will enable that. If you require additional metrics, you can enable the OS guest diagnostics as well. Any role related to the system assigned managed identity, you can assign that as well, or any other access management, you can assign that here. Also for provisioning the Azure Active Directory, you have the option here. Now for the enable auto shutdown, it is a great feature in the sense that if you forget to shut down your OS, you will incur charges because once the OS is provisioned to you, it is for you. So Azure will charge you for that. But if you have a requirement that after 5 or 6 in the evening you don't have any requirement for this OS, so you can enable the auto shutdown and provide the time from here. Also, you'll get a notification before shutdown, you can enable that as well. So you can provide the email ID and everything. So also for the backup, the same thing. If you want to enable backup and provide a disk where it will be backed up, the disk is also managed by Azure, so you will get the backup stored there. Now for the guest OS updates, we'll set it to default. The patching orchestration will be set to default. Next, we'll go to the advanced section. In here, if you have any other further extension in the VM to install or any custom data to be provided for the initial configuration of the VM, we can provide it here. So the tags would be metadata about our VM. So we would provide some tags to it. The purpose is demo, and the name would be web OS. That's it. You can provide further tags that will help you identify the VM later. Next, we'll go ahead and create it. You'll get a section where you can review it, all of the options that you have provided, and once that is done, you can go ahead and create it. You'll also get a template download for automation. For example, if you want to launch further VMs with this same configuration, we don't need to come to the console and do it one more time. We can download the template and use that template for automation. It will launch same OS with the same configuration. So we can go ahead and select that. I will go ahead and create it. Now it will take some time to provision this VM. Also, we'll get a prompt of downloading the private key. So we'll go ahead and download the private key, and once it's done, we will connect to our instance.